I don't know Congressman Hurd, but I've heard he's done a good job. We differ on certain subjects, but I've heard he's actually done a good job. It's too bad he's leaving, but really don't know him.
That's President Trump last week following the surprise announcement of retirement by Texas Congressman Will Hurd that leaves Republicans without a candidate in a pivotal swing district for now. Hurd, the only African-American in the House Republican caucus and the only GOP member to represent a district on the border, announced last Thursday he will not seek re-election next year, in a district that's about 70% Latino and which Hillary Clinton won in 2016. Congressman Hurd is among 7 Republican incumbents who have announced they will retire in the last 3 weeks, including 2 others in swing districts in Texas. And Congressman Will Hurd joins us now. He's a member of the House Intelligence and Appropriations Committees. Congressman, thanks so much, as always, for being with us. Explain your decision a little bit here. I know you said you want to go in the private sector and pursue some other opportunities. Sure. Why did you believe this was the time to walk away?
Well, first of all, Willie, I'm not retiring, right? I turn 42 next week, so I got
from Congress
I got a lot,
anyway.
I got a lot ahead of me. First off, I'm going to stay involved in politics. I want to help candidates across the country do what I've been able to do, and that's win really tough races. As you said in the opening, my district is 29 counties, 2 time zones, 820 miles of the border. It is larger than 20 states. It's roughly the size of Georgia. I've won in races when people thought I couldn't win, and what I want to do is help candidates, just like great guys like Wesley Hunt down in Houston, Texas. He, flew helicopters for the Army. He's from a family that have served. His sister served. His father served. They were all deployed at one point at the same time. Help people like that win in tough primaries. That's my interest, because I want to make sure that there's 15, 20 people like me serving up in Washington, D.C. And I'm also, interested in staying involved on the topics that have been my passions for most of my adult life, and that's that intersection of technology and national security.
Congressman, you've served with integrity. You've criticized the president where you've seen necessary along the border. You've supported him where you thought he deserves your support. A lot of people are disappointed, frankly, within the party and outside the party that you are walking away. Was there anything about the political culture, about this moment in our politics, that caused you to say, you know what, I don't need this anymore?
Well, a lot of people have asked me that question, and I've been able to be effective under a Democratic president, under a Republican president, under a Democratic speaker, under a Republican speaker. I've had 15 bills signed into law in my 5 years, so far. And the way I've been able to do that is by focus on what unites us, not what divides us. Yes, there is gridlock at times. Congress was not designed to be efficient, and I think that the message sorry, Willie, the way that I've been effective, and I want to make sure and communicate that to other folks. The only way we're going to be able to get big things done is if we actually focus on what unites us, and representing a 71% Latino district, representing what's truly a 50% Republican, 50% Democrat district. What I've learned is that we have way more in common, and when you focus on that, we can be effective. And I also think that the Republican Party should be focused on explaining how we try to empower people and not empower the government. That the way we believe families should move up the economic ladder is by free markets and not socialism. That we should be talking about the way you achieve and maintain peace is by being nice with nice guys and tough with tough guys. These are the message. It's a winning message. Folks that consider themselves independents recognize that. Conservative Democrats do as well. I think that's the real opportunity, and if we focus the conversation there, we'll be better off. The 2 largest growing groups of voters are minorities and young people, and the Republican Party should be talking to those groups of folks. I always say in Texas, if the Republican Party in Texas doesn't start looking like Texas, there will not be a Republican Party in Texas. And I want to take the hard lessons I've learned and apply that.
Congressman, as I said, you've been critical of the president's border policy. You say a wall is a terrible idea. It doesn't make sense. There are other ways to provide border security. But there are a lot of people, as I don't have to tell you, in the state where you sit, given especially what happened at the Walmart in El Paso the other day, people of color, Latinos who feel under assault in this country.
Sure.
What would you tell the president about the way he talks about people of culture, about the way he talks about the kind of people who live in your district?
Well, I would start with let's hear more of what he said on Monday than some of the things that he said before. What people need to realize about El Paso. So my district butts right up against the city of El Paso. I have part of the county that the city is in. El Paso is the 22nd largest city in the United States of America, and it's been one of the safest of its size for the last couple of decades. This was even when Juarez, which is the Mexican city on the other side of the border, was one of the most dangerous places in the world. And so what happened in that El Paso, that horrific murders that happened a few days ago, has really shocked a community that has worked together and support one another. What I love about El Paso is when people come into this killer came in their community, tried to sow fear, and the community of El Paso is not going to cower. Right? This person was trying to sow hate. They're responding with love, and so what I would suggest is that we talk about the fact, call this what it was. It was white nationalist terrorism, and I'm glad that it seems like most of my colleagues have been referring to that. We should also make sure that we have a focus on this within the Department of Homeland Security. This is a major issue that's affecting our homeland. We all know what it is, and we should be making sure that all branches of the government recognize that.
So, and Congressman, the shooter, though, as you saw in that screen, used language that the president has been using, a Hispanic invasion. So what would you say to the president about the way he talks about Latinos and people of color in this country?
And like I said, use more of the language that you use on Monday, right? Embrace our uniqueness as a country. We can't fuel the environment that has allowed hate in order to grow. We have to distinguish that and take oxygen away from it. And so that's where that's how I've tried to operate. That's the way I'm going to continue to operate. And in this specific case, when it comes to El Paso, let's make sure we're doing everything that we can to prevent this from happening in the future. It's wild. The U.S. Secret Service did a report in 2018 about and looked at 27 mass casualty events. This is where 3 or more people were killed, and in almost all the cases, there were people that made a comment or some kind of communication that was threatening or concerning, and 3/4 of these people, there was somebody that reported them in some form or fashion, right? And so we have an opportunity to disrupt this process of radicalization, and our words matter. The words we use matter, and so I hope we take and lessons from this El Paso shooting, also what happened in Ohio, and use this as an opportunity for us to change our rhetoric and change our language.
Congressman, I got a bunch of people want to ask you questions. One more from me, though. There are a lot of people after the announcement that Dan Coates is leaving DNI who have raised your name as someone, given your history working in the CIA and given your stature in the party. If you were asked to serve in this administration, if Donald Trump called upon you and said, I want you to be the head of the DNI, what would you say?
Well, I think he has a short list. I don't think my name is on it. I haven't been asked. I think anybody who is ever asked to serve their country should evaluate the opportunity.
So you would consider the request to be DNI?
Look, I would always evaluate any opportunity to see if I'm able to continue to serve my country. I've been proud to serve my country most of my adult life. But again, I haven't been asked. I'm not expecting to be asked, and I'm looking forward to spending the next 14 months running through the tape as the representative of the 23rd Congressional District of Texas.
Congressman, it's Jonathan Lemire. There's a lot of discussion this morning, just including now, about the president's rhetoric that may have played a role in some some of these shootings, but there's also, of course, the debate about what to do about the guns involved in these shootings. The president has floated yesterday in the White House that he might have some support for background checks. Where do you stand on that issue? Where do you think Americans, would this White House, should the Republican Congress, should Senate Leader McConnell do about guns?
Well, I was one of 8 Republicans that voted for the background check bill. Last Congress, we also had a bill that was called Fix NICS. After the Sutherland Springs shooting, it came to, we found out that the shooter should not have had a gun, but Department of Defense did not provide all the details that they were supposed to the NICS process. We were able to pass legislation, got signed into law in order to do that. And again, I think, everybody agrees that you should keep guns out of the hands of some people that shouldn't have it. Terrorists, people that have mental health issues. I hope that, the fact that the president has indicated that he's interested in strengthening background checks, I hope some of my Democratic senators that aren't running for president start working with the White House to actually try to get something done. I also hope that we see a little bit more resources going to countering violent extremism within the Department of Homeland Security, so that we can work on this, that radicalization process. There's another piece of legislation, overwhelmingly bipartisan piece of legislation from Dr. Brian Babin, Republican from Houston, Val Demings from Florida, who's a Democrat, that takes this, it's called a behavioral threat assessment management program that the U.S. Secret Service has, and extends that to local law enforcement. So there's a lot of things that we can do in order to protect our communities.
All right, Congressman Will Hurd of Texas, we appreciate you taking some time this morning. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.